This is GWEN Talks Radio, where intimate conversations reveal, heal, inspire, and entertain. And now, here's your host, Tess Cacciatore.
Okay, here we go. You're listening to GWEN Talks Radio, and I'm your host, Tess Cacciatore. I'm so excited to talk about today's topic because it's about love. Who doesn't want to talk about love, especially during the holidays? We all have noticed that during the holidays, people get a little crazy, cranky, moody, pressured, and also full of joy. I want to concentrate on the positive here because I think there's a way around when people put too much pressure on themselves to be in a relationship. Oh my gosh, I can't go to my family's house without a date. Or what are my friends going to think if I break up with my boyfriend right before? I wonder if he's going to propose to me by the holidays. I wonder. And sometimes we just have to take a stand and put a stake in the ground and say, what about ourselves? What about me? How am I going to love myself? That if there's an unhealthy relationship, we get to just have the bravery and courage to do so in a loving way to take care of ourselves. I can speak from personal experience being right before the holidays and me having to make a very hard decision with someone that I care for deeply and love tremendously, and had to say, this isn't right for me. And it took a giant leap of faith and a lot of courage on my part, but I know that everything's going to turn out okay. Even better than okay. It's going to turn out great because I have the faith that everything is going to work out. And wherever any of us are in our lives, it's really about the self-love. It brings me to what happened in Los Angeles here a couple of days ago. There was hundreds of people that took to the streets in Hollywood and Highland, which is right in the crux of where all the Academy Award red carpet extravaganza events happen. And this was a different energy that day. When I got off the freeway and went to park my car, there was a gentle buzz of empowerment. And when I walked down the stairs at Hollywood and Highland, if you haven't been there, it's a very central hub of a tourist spot. There was news trucks all around. Obviously, they wanted to find out what we all wanted to say. And I saw Frances Fisher, and she was out there using her beautiful voice to speak out. There was many celebrities that came to the march: Elizabeth Perkins, Sharon Lawrence, Mary Kennedy. And Lawrence Sivan was on hand to talk at the press conference about being one of the first to have the bravery and courage to come out to the media to share her story of Harvey Weinstein. And I just want to celebrate once again because I do see a true, deep, penetrating action that's going on within the industry. And then hearing about, and it isn't just the entertainment industry, it's across the board, it's in boardrooms, it's even in the farms. I heard about a petition that was signed by women union farmers. There was 700,000 signatures from women out there in the farms that were stepping up and shouting out to say, this has got to stop. So why am I bringing this up again? Well, not only is it topical and relevant, and I'm excited to see where we get to go as women in the industry and women in our lives. And I think it always comes back to that self-love. So today I'm bringing back Betsy Chasse, who was the first guest host with me. We go way back and deep friends, and I'm really excited to have her on as my guest host. And she is going to be talking about her new series called Radical Dating, which you can also see on GWEN.live. And she brought one of her cast members who's absolutely wonderful, fantastic life coach and author herself, Wendy Yost. And then a very dear Facebook friend. We have not met in person. We've spoken on the phone. We've talked about working together. He is a midlife relationship coach, which I love because he handles with women particularly that are divorced in their 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe never married, just from a man's point of view, a very gentle space to have safe advice from Jonathon Aslay. So he's our guest today. Musical inspiration is Memoir from Magnolia Memoir, and I have a very special connection to this song, No One Like You, which I'll tell the story a little bit later. And I am really just pausing for a moment that I hope that wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in your life, that you take time to really, truly love yourself. Because when we do, more often than not, things turn around and things get brighter and the answers are revealed. So as GWEN Talks Radio is here to reveal and heal, we are here for you, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm David Longoria. My new song, Playground, features the talented and lovely Miss Dallas Lovato singing along with me, and of course my trumpet. Playground is heating up dance floors across America now. Check it out. If you're on Spotify, follow me and my fun playlist, David's Playground. During this entire month, we are donating the profits from Playground to the charity We Are One, lifting kids and helping victims traumatized in Las Vegas, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Texas, and Florida. Let's do some good in our world as we dance to the music. Remember, that's Playground, David Longoria featuring Dallas Lovato. Not just for kids. Playground is available now on iTunes, Amazon, and wherever you love to get your music.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to GWEN Talks Radio, and this is your host, Tess Cacciatore. I want to take this time to thank the advertisers and sponsors because we can't do it without you. So if you are out there and you have a like-minded business, you have a book to share, you have a series that's blossoming that you want to share to the world, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And speaking of series blossoming, my guest co-host is a dear friend, a best-selling author, a filmmaker, a mother, an activist, and all-around fabulous, fantastic woman, Betsy Chasse, who was the one that was the guest co-host that was with me on the very first episode. And here we are, episode, I think, 6. And we are doing an episode about I Am Love. Betsy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to be with you again because we've been talking as girlfriends behind the scenes forever about relationships. We both have gone through times when we've been single. I met you when you were married, and then you went through the divorce and separation and the rough and tumble of all of our lives, of where we come from in the land of love, and we're entering into the holiday season. So let's talk a little bit about the intense pressure that we put on ourselves during the holidays. Even though this is an evergreen topic, I really want to talk about why we put our pressures on ourselves to go on online dating or find that perfect date for New Year's Eve. What do you say about that? And welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. And well, I think that there's a societal pressure about being in relationship. I think that we have this old paradigm in which you are supposed to be coupled up and you're supposed to have a partner. And it is like even harder when you're over 40 because people think, well, what's wrong with them if they're single at that stage of their lives? There must be something wrong, or, what's up with you? And so there's all that pressure because we're going out to parties, we're going out to our family's house for dinner. And if we're the only single one there, then it makes us feel awkward and weird and just another added oh my God, now I have to go to my my parents' house, and my mother, of course, is going to ask me why I don't have a boyfriend. And so that's just that pressure on top of already our own story that we've been telling ourselves about why we want a relationship or why don't we have a relationship. It just kind of compounds everything.
Well, I've been the third wheel, the fifth wheel, and the seventh wheel many times over the years. I know how you feel, especially when everyone's coupled up. There's a lot of people, and I haven't really experienced this, but I don't know, have you experienced where people won't really invite you out because you're not a couple? I've heard this a lot, and I'm not sure what that's about.
Well, I have. I mean, luckily for me, I've been in a relationship now for 4 years. But yeah, and then the other part of it is there's that. And then there's the dreaded, oh, we're all going out for dinner and I've invited a friend. Like there's that part, which can be a blessing and a curse, right? So it's just there's this need for other people to fix you. And that you don't have a couple, you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So they're either going to try to fix you up or they're going to feel sad for you. And it adds, the other part of it is, there's something about the holidays, especially, I don't think it's just the holidays. I think it's like this winter thing where we want to have that person that we can cuddle up with on the TV, on the couch with the TV while it's raining outside. There's that whole sort of like cocooning, nuzzling thing that we sort of start to go, gosh, I really want that partner. Here's a funny statistic for you. I just found this out, and I'm not exactly sure what the percentage is, but like more babies are conceived during the winter months than they are during spring or summer. And it's because we're looking for that, cocooning, that cuddling. And so that kind of adds to why we want to have a partner during the holidays.
Well, that must have been the fact with my parents because I'm a July baby.
See? See?
Yeah. So I can't believe it's been 4 years with Brian. The time is flying so fast, and he's a wonderful man and a great support, and I love you all together. It's just wonderful. So
it's probably my best relationship of my entire life because it's the most conscious relationship I've ever had. And I think that, part of what we're doing on Radical Dating and part of what, we're talking about with this rush to get a date for the holidays is that, if we can kind of step out of the society story about what we should have, and we can step back from our own self-doubt and our own negative thoughts about why we are in a partnership and really get some clarity on what we want, by next Christmas, if you do this work, by next Christmas, not only will you have the partner to snuggle with on the couch watching Christmas movies, but to take to all the parties, but it'll probably be the most conscious, wonderful relationship you've had your entire life.
Well, I'm ready for that. So I remember when you were talking to me about Radical Dating, I think there was one conversation where you had asked me if I wanted to be a part of the show, and I was so busy at that time, and it's a shame that I didn't have that chance to do that, but I can't wait to dig in and watch all the episodes. I started watching the first couple of episodes, and I'm so excited to find out what's happening with these characters, and not characters because they're real people, and it's not reality as in staged. It's a real true story. And we have Wendy Yost from your cast on coming up next. But let's talk a little bit about how you started it, where it went. What was the journey for you in this Radical Dating series?
Well, I think that every project that I do, Tess, and this starts with a question, a curiosity of my own. And it's funny, I was approached to do a real reality show about single moms. And they came to my house and they asked me all these ridiculous questions that had nothing to do with the reality of being a single mom or a dating mom. And I looked at them and I said, I don't know what planet you're on, but I don't go out to raging parties. I'm a single mom. I'm not dating all the hot men. Dating over 40 is not like what you think it is. And I realized when I had that experience that I want to explore what it's really like to date and to have a relationship after 40. So the show Radical Dating features five single people, all over 40 at different stages of they're either divorced or they've never been married. One has a kid. One is gay, and it starts them off in this sort of space of, all right, you've been single. A lot of them have been single for many years. Some of them just recently single. And the whole purpose of the show for me was it's kind of a reality show in that it's real. We follow these five people through the journey. The disappointment for some is that there's no secret or sexy late night hot tub rendezvous. No, but there's no, screaming fights between competing women for the man. So that's not the kind of show that it is.
Thank gosh, because I'm so tired. I think people are starting to get a little worn out about those kind of shows. I mean, it's starting to have that sex appeal to it because people want to get lost into that fantasy world. But I think people are really hungry for these kind of shows.
Well, what we do is we put them through a program developed by a gentleman named David Steele, who has Relationship Coach Institute, which is one of the oldest and most respected training programs for relationship coaches. And he has a program called Radical Dating, where basically you go through these certain exercises and you work with an actual relationship coach. And the first step in the process, which is what I found was so important, was before you start dating anybody else, date yourself. Know who you are. And that's not like as in some sort of like, oh, I'll kind of know my favorite color. It gets, you can ask Wendy. We dig deep into who you are, what your life is like, what you want in your life. And a lot of people, I think, one of the biggest aha moments in the show for many of the clients came when they wrote their own mission statement. I mean, it's amazing to me that at this stage in my life, I mean, I didn't really write a mission statement for my life until I was probably 35 or, late, almost 40. And I rewrote it again once I got divorced, like, wait a minute. So it's something that you reevaluate, but just getting clarity on what you want your life to look like before you decide to add someone else into it is a powerful tool. And then the next thing that they go through is a process called requirements, needs, and wants. I think one of the biggest failures in relationship that David talks about a lot is this idea that we have a tendency, first of all, we leave one of our most important decisions of our lives, who we're going to partner with, up to chance. I mean, we spend more time researching banks. We spend more time researching our gynecologist than we do the people that we think we're going to get into a relationship with. So it's really about, and it kind of sounds unsexy, but, ask Wendy. I don't think it's unsexy at all to really put the effort into what are my requirements in a relationship? What are my needs and what are my wants? What's the difference between the three of those? And what happens to a lot of people is they make this list of requirements and they meet the guy or the girl and they think, wow, it's cool. It's kind of nice. Oh, wait, she doesn't have this, this, and this, but I'll let that slide. And what happens in most relationships is those things that were requirements for you in the beginning that you let slide 5 years later turn out to be really important. And that's why relationships don't work, is because in the beginning, you're not willing to go, you know what? This is a nice person. They're great, but they're not the right one for me because they don't fit my list of requirements, and I'm going to say no. And that's the hard part. We don't want to say no because we got to go to our parents' house for Thanksgiving and we better bring someone. So that's part of the work,
Yeah, I love that. This is so valuable information. I love the fact that, because I've written a mission statement thousands of times within my own business side. And of course, mission statements for the Charity of Global Women's Empowerment Network and World Trust and GWEN and all the business side. But I don't, and I've written a mission statement for myself, but I realize my mission statement has always been surrounded about serving the world and being of service and all this stuff, which is great to be in the land of business and my personal mission. But I haven't really done a mission statement with regard to my love partner, so this is something I'm going to work on today. And I encourage the audience to do as well.
It's not just your love partner. Let me clarify. It's your mission statement for your life. And it can include your work. I mean, Wendy has a great one. It includes, but it's not specific to your work. It's sort of like my mission statement for my life is simple. It's like every day I want to create, I want to inspire. And if I make one person smile that day, my life is fulfilled. So it doesn't really specify my partnership or, my work. It just is my personal mission. And then what happens is when I met Brian, I could look at my personal mission statement and say, yeah, he fits in there. That's, and what happens is you start to realize when you have a mission statement, you can start to look at people in terms of, well, do they have shared values? Do they have, shared interests? Because it fits your mission statement.
I'm so glad you brought up the shared values and all of that, because that's some of the things we're going to be talking about in a pre-record that I did with Jonathon Aslay last week. So let's take a quick break, and I want to bring on Wendy Yost and talk about mission statements and love and radical dating and all kinds of things, because this is the episode I Am Love, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Fran Drescher, and I'm on GWEN Talk Radio, and I hope you go to cancerschmanza.org and learn how you can reduce your risk of cancer and a lot of other illnesses for you and your family. Go now and save your lives.
The Life Changes Show is a premier radio show presented by the Life Changes Network, which is a company whose team has dedicated their lives not only to positive change, but to helping others observe and embrace, honor, and even celebrate their own changes, thus enabling a more positive, inspired life and helping to create a more positive and inspired world. From everyday people, celebrities, corporate giants, and children, we are here to help and to serve. With heart, integrity, and experience, we bring our message and positive intent into your lives through the Life Changes Show, lifechangesnetwork.com, and through guest appearances on other inspiring shows and events. If you wish to learn more about Life Changes Life Coaching, a private consultation with one of us, corporate or live event appearances, or if you would like us to appear on your radio or TV shows, please email us at info@lifechangesnetwork.com.
Welcome back once again to GWEN Talks Radio. This is your host, Tess Cacciatore, and my beautiful guest co-host, Betsy Chasse. I'm going to let Betsy introduce Wendy because I'm so excited to meet Wendy Yost. She is one of the cast members, and I loved watching the show. And one of the things that jumped out about Wendy's segment in the opening segment is something we want to talk about as well. I'll leave people in suspense while you bring on Wendy to the show.
Well, it makes sense that you would resonate with Wendy because Wendy's similar, very similar to you. So, like I said, we have 5 very different people. And, Wendy is a learner. She's an explorer. She's a philosopher. She's a coach and an educator in her own right. And what was exciting about working with Wendy is sometimes when you have a lot of knowledge and wisdom and information and data, because you've been doing a lot of this sort of personal growth work for many, many years, that you have a tendency to kind of push it off as to, oh, that's great information for somebody else. And so what was Wendy was a great challenge to the entire show was to really take this information on for herself and to not necessarily take it as something she could give to someone, but that she should receive for herself. And so Wendy she's, I think for us, sort of like, in the show, she's every woman that's kind of that way. We're together, we're professional, we know what we're doing, we know what we got, but then how do we take and receive? So that's Wendy.
I love that. Welcome to the show, Wendy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I love the show. I love what it stands for and that it's a real reality show. Tell me about your experience in the process.
It's funny, from the episode that aired this week, there were 3 distinct images when I was watching it. Cause we had so many hours of filming. And so it's a treat for us as cast members to get to watch each episode. Like each time a new episode goes live, I like carve out a little lunch for myself and I sit down, put my headphones in, and then I watch it. And oftentimes I find myself taking notes and getting like engrossed in it as if I'm a viewer, even though I'm like, oh yeah, and that's me. That's me having this experience. And
I love that.
There were 3 distinct screenshots that I took of the current episode, and I labeled them thinking, learning, and happy, because that was my experience on the show, that it got me to think in new ways. And somebody even commented on my social media post about, like, it looks like you're questioning what the person is saying. And I wrote back, I'm not questioning what the person's saying. I'm questioning its relevance in my life and trying to not deflect exactly what Betsy said. Oh, I've heard this before. Oh, I don't think that relates to me. And instead being willing, since I signed on for a 3-month adventure called Radical Dating, which has proven to be far more than 3 months, because I still feel like I'm in the loving container that we all built together. But I feel like what was being shared, I had to be willing to ask myself, how do I do that? I may not do that in the way that they're giving examples about. I might see myself and my former self in some of the examples that they're providing. And because like, I don't relate to talking negatively to myself, for example. But I do occasionally have a thought where for me, it's more comparing myself against the future that I know I'm creating. So I'm not beating myself up in comparison to somebody else, but I'm beating myself up.
That's a big lesson that I think women really need to hear.
Well, so for me, what I love about the show is every week we had coaches that were consistently working with us over the course of 3 months. And then my coach, Lorianne Davis, she was so generous. She gifted me additional time after we stopped filming, and then I hired her. So for a full year following, basically including our filming and then moving through the end of 2017, I've had her support twice a week while we were filming, twice a month after filming, to help me stay the course, and continue tinkering with the parts that still need to be looked at in different ways and loved at in ways that are going to support me bringing, that lasting love that I desire into my life.
Can I ask you a question, Wendy? Because one of the things that's, I think, hard for a lot of women, and especially we were talking about the societal pressures, is that I think one of the things you're very grounded in is the idea that you don't have to have a relationship, that you've come to terms with, I choose a relationship. I'm not obligated.
Well, it's interesting because when I hear you say that, immediately all I can think about is how many ways relationship and connection exist in my life already. Mm-hmm. And that a romantic relationship would be an enhancement and an amplifier or amplification to all the good that already exists. Right. So to me, I don't want to say that nothing's missing, because I do feel like for me to live the purpose that I have on this planet, there's a notion of better together. Right. And I see myself being with somebody who provides for me in ways that allow me to contribute to our partnership and to the world in ways that I can't on my own as a single woman. Right. That there are parts of myself that I mean, it was funny because in one of the university classes I teach, I came up with the distinction that for a long time, I just wanted to find somebody who allowed me to be fully myself. Hmm. And then this last week, so again, radical dating is still having its way with me well after the camera stopped rolling. Just this last week, I thought, you know what? It's more than somebody who I can be the fullness of myself with, or be fully myself with. I actually want to be with somebody who's going to allow me to see aspects of myself that I can't see. Right. And some of that, so that's the part where I could live, I'm 46 right now. I could live the rest of my life in the absence of a romantic partner, but the richness of my life, I think, would be quite different with a partner in it.
But that's a beautiful distinction. But see, a lot of women don't have that distinction. And that's one of the things that they talk about. We talk a lot about in radical dating is the idea that you have to shift the dialogue in your own mind. You have to shift your perspective and your dialogue into, I need a partner, to I choose a partner. I want a partner, which I think, for a lot of us, I remember right after I got divorced for about 3 months, I was in a panic, like, oh my God, I better find someone. And I had to make that distinction for myself. Like, wait a minute, I don't actually have to find someone. I'm going to take a break for a while, do some work on myself. And then when I'm ready, I'll choose someone, which I think is really tough. That's what a lot of women seem to struggle with.
I think it's important to note that there's not one way to do it, and that there's really just the way that's going to work for you and best serve you in the long run. And I have girlfriends who there were several divorces that happened at the same time, around the same time. And, some people entered into what radical dating would refer to as mini marriages, where you're in a relationship. It doesn't last very long, but you end up, moving in together, and you end up learning all the things that are available to be learned in the context of a relationship. But it's not you're finding lasting love.
Right.
But it could be something that is along the way to somebody finding lasting love. For me, I really wanted to do a lot of soul searching because I had gone through most of my life in partnership, serial monogamy. And when my divorce came, I thought, part of the divorce, the reason for the divorce was related to not having a relationship container that was going to support who I was and who I was becoming and the vision that I had for myself. And so I had to take some time and get really clear about, well, what is it that I want? And what would it look like? Like, how would I be supported? And what are the ways that I most want to contribite?
Can I just one of the things that you said in one of the episodes, which I thought was really interesting, and I did this myself too, was you said, kind of not fair, but you took some of the work that we did in the first few episodes around your mission statement, your personal mission statement, your requirements, needs, and wants, and those kinds of lists and things that you really organized for yourself, and you compared it to your first marriage, and you realized, wow, if I had done this before, I would have known right away that this was not the relationship for me.
Right. And that was the piece. It actually was it was one of the 1,000 times I cried on camera, where I either cried related to talking about my purpose. I cried related to talking about my parents' or grandparents' marriages, which were all just really incredible models for me. And I cried when I had these like massive healing moments. And it actually was a massive healing moment to recognize, like, oh, we were doomed. Mm-hmm. Like, because it took the pressure off of there being anything I could have done any differently to have it work.
Right.
I have to interrupt you all. I'm so excited about having this conversation. We need to take a quick break. But before we go, I want to just commend Betsy for you taking the content of David Steele with Radical Dating and turning it into a reality show that actually is real and grounding and not staged. And the fact that, Wendy, you and the cast members have to lay your heart onto the ground and be exposed and vulnerable, which takes a lot of courage. So I want to commend you on that as well. We're going to go to a pre-record right after a quick break to Jonathon Aslay, who is an amazing life coach and relationship coach for particularly women ages 42 to 69. So he's the midlife, and obviously, around that's his target demographic. But I wanted to just thank you both. And we're going to come back and have a quick conversation after we listen to Jonathon. So we'll be right back.
The Little Dog That Could is the fantastically true story of a man and a little dog that came into his life as his mentor to help him understand the world beyond his human senses and to experience life, love, and healing beyond his human understanding. Best-selling author Filippo Voltaggio, who currently hosts the highly regarded Life Changes show, is an internationally known singer, speaker, and life coach. Filippo offers up his own story, how one little surprise package in fur and 4 legs transformed his life unexpectedly forever and furthered his path of self-discovery. In The Little Dog That Could, Filippo brings to life the meaning of the adage, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Through the reading of this book, you will experience the journey of real miracles that transcend time, space, and logic while gaining practical tools that will help you navigate your way. The Little Dog That Could is available through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. For more information, visit thelittledogthatcould.com. That's thelittledogthatcould.com.
Here we go. We're back at GWEN Talks Radio, and this is your host, Tess Cacciatore. I'm so excited about doing this pre-record, which will be inserted on the episode about dating. Jonathon Aslay, I've known for years, but we have never met in person, which is so cool about social media. We've spoken on the phone. We've done live sessions. We've talked about doing a dating show and a relationship coaching show on GWEN.live, and that could be definitely in the near future because now that our platform is launched, which I encourage you all to go to as well to see all the programs. I'm excited to bring this topic into discussion because I have in the past, I've gone over that loop. Now I'm not so stressed out in the holidays if I have a relationship or not, because I've come to the place of self-love and really just enjoying my family and friends. And if I have a great man in my life, far better, that's great, but it's not a stress or a pressure on myself anymore. But I know that it's a topic. And even though this is the holidays and we're going to talk about what he does with the midlife dating and relationship coach, we're going to talk about his book, which is Understand Men Now, the relationships men commit to and why. Do men really fall in love? Are they really capable of having a commitment? And why do men, this is my question, I would have to still say, why do men pull away after coming on strong? This book provides simple words and direct to the point explanations on what men really want and what they're thinking when it comes to love, sex, and commitment. So welcome to this pre-record, Jonathon. Hello, hello.
Hey, Tess, how's it going? I'm so excited that we're finally doing something. Yay, 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 yay.
I know. My gosh, we've been talking about it forever. But you know what? It's all in perfect timing, as we get to say.
Ain't that the truth?
Yes. So I have so many thousands of questions. I know we have limited time.
Hit me with your best shot.
So why do men pull away after coming on strong? I'm just going to start with that one. I've had that in my life.
All right. So I could talk for literally 8 hours on this, but let me cut to the chase real quick. And by the way, for those listening, I'm known as a midlife dating relationship coach. So that's for people after baby making years, before retirement. So if you're 42 or 69, that's the demographic I speak to. And why do men pull away after they come on strong? Well, I'm going to give you one or two reasons. But one of the first one is the illusion of chemistry. Most of us have bought into this idea that chemistry or strong attraction is love. They call it love at first sight. And there's this illusion that means you're compatible to be in a relationship. And all that's really happening in the initial stages when there is that strong connection is brain chemicals being released in the body that make you feel good. And what oftentimes happens after you kind of quench that thirst, if you will, satisfied that chemical, all of a sudden, it's like those chemicals are gone. And I'm going to say, because I've experienced this and I know many men have experienced this, all of a sudden we're like, why don't I like this person anymore? I mean, not consciously, the subconscious is thinking that. And the minute that connection no longer exists, our natural reaction is to run the other way, to, you've heard the term disappear, ghost, and so forth.
I know now they have a term for it. It's actually called ghosting. I'm like, wow, that's what it was called all these years.
But if it's the beginning stage of the relationship and you haven't, really gotten that far, it's not ghosting. It's just like, I'm just not that into you anymore. But one of the reasons is this chemical infusion of chemicals, and then those chemicals are gone. That's one. The most common reason, however, why men pull away is life and stuff is going on. Life and stuff, okay? Maybe we're dealing with issues at work. Maybe we're dealing with the next spouse. Maybe we're dealing with medical issues, or maybe we're dealing with family medical issues. So our life and stuff gets in the way. And while we might be enthusiastic at one moment, when that pulls us away, we haven't really established an anchor with this person, or that person hasn't established an anchor with us where we feel safe to maybe share what's going on. And so men naturally retreat within. Men are very stoic. When they have problems going on in their life, they tend to shut down. And so that could be another reason of what's happening when we pull away. I'm not saying it's right that we do it. I'm just telling you why it happens.
Well, those are really interesting points. What is the advice to a woman who, begins dating someone? There's a lot of chemistry. There's feels like all those ducks are lining up and everything seems right. And there's this promise of a beautiful future together. And then all of a sudden, this man disappears. Most women tend to clutch on and go after and text and obsess and all that kind of stuff. And I always say, don't do that. Leave a steak or a veggie burger or whatever they eat at the edge of the cave and let them come out when they're ready and then have a conversation. But what would you say?
First off, it takes quite a bit of time to truly develop what's called know, like, and trust. Let me repeat that. You know someone, you like them and trust them. That takes a fair amount of time to really build the deep friendship and intimacy that grounds you into a relationship, first and foremost. So recognizing that's one of the challenges we're dealing with is to be a little bit detached from an outcome. And that's very hard to do when you're attached to another human being. And yet Buddha says all suffering comes from an attachment to something else, right? So it's really checking in with yourself and recognizing that, when you come to the table as a fairly whole person, meaning I don't need anyone else for my happiness, I'm happy on my own, and life is better with company. So if someone does pull away, but you're happy within yourself, you're not going to react in so much fear, pain, and rejection if that does happen. There's no way there are ways to predict this. By the way, this is what I do in my private coaching program called Shortcut to Mr. Right. I help identify those potential pitfalls with men in advance. And there are clues that happen. And I'll give you an example. Typically, men who have just come off of a long-term relationship or a long-term marriage aren't necessarily the best candidates for a relationship, especially if it's really, 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 really fresh. Okay. There's this term called transition girlfriend for us men, that we might need one or two of that coming off of a long-term marriage or even a long-term relationship. So if you're someone who's gone out with someone who just literally got divorced yesterday, be prepared. You're going to potentially have this man pull away.
Yes. I have someone a relative of mine who came off of a long-term, like 29-year marriage, raised the girls, went on their way, blah, blah, blah. And very shortly after met a very, very sweet woman. And that woman said, I'm not getting involved with you. You just got out of this relationship. And he said, no, this is the real thing. And it's been a year later. So I think this person I'm talking about had a rare situation where they actually found someone that they were compatible with. And
well, now here's the thing. I will say that there are men that immediately gravitate to another woman the minute one relationship ends. Typically, those men happen to have codependent tendencies. In other words, they fear being alone so much that they attach themselves to the first person. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're a good candidate for each other, but that does happen. Now, I'm not suggesting that in your friend's case, and always there's exception to the rule. But as a rule of thumb, people that are fresh out of a relationship tend to not make good candidates, because when you're unraveling the tapestry of a we, it's important to come back to being a me for a while.
The me is so important, because I had an experience with someone I dated for about 3 years, and I was in an ending relationship, and I ended that, and he was still in a relationship, and I said, no way, no how until that's done and resolved and all that. We were together for, close to 3 years, but I realized that his codependency rode in the fact that he found me before he had the courage to leave her, and he found someone else before he had the courage to end this relationship. And in his case, he, and like a lot of men, seemed to set up the situation where they do things to push your buttons so that the woman decides, this isn't working for me anymore. So he kind of did the reverse flip.
I call that the dysfunctional moonwalk, in that we men don't want to hurt a woman's... It has a name. Jonathon calls it the dysfunctional moonwalk. And that's a result of two things. A, we don't want to hurt someone's feelings. And B, hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. So what some men will do is intentional sabotaging of the relationship, making their life so chaotic, so crazy, so dysfunctional that the woman does the pulling of the trigger. And then, it's the old, it's not you, it's me kind of thing,
Yeah, that's exactly, I experienced that right on. So one of the things that we're talking about, even though this topic is evergreen, we can have a whole season of you and I on a call with this kind of thing, because it's such an important conversation. And what I'm working through with my book, that the message of my book and the message of GWEN is really about finding that self-love so that you don't get triggered in that rejection and all the obsession stuff that happens when your relationships are crumbling. But why do people, do you think, put themselves with the pressure of needing to be in a relationship first off? But now that we're in the holiday season, People are crazy online. The statistics pump up to the sky of people going online because they want to find that date for Christmas, which seems impossible because here we are in November. How are you going to feel like you know them so well that all of a sudden you're going to be having that New Year's Eve date and that magical Christmas morning or Hanukkah?
Well, I think first off, we just recognize that this is just natural human behavior. You know, we both men and women want connection. In fact, earlier when you were sharing the question, why or how can men fall in love? The fact that we even have to ask that question kind of makes me sad, because men and women are thirsty for connection. We truly want it. And normally the holidays are those festive times where you'd like to have a life partner. So it's very natural to experience this. And let's just see it for what it is, okay? And if people act a little bit desperate or whatnot, I can understand, because they're motivated. You know, and some people are enthusiastic and some are desperate, as I just said. So, but I think the holidays, like any other time of year, if there's more activity going on, great. You know, in other words, if people are putting themselves out there more, great. That gives you people to choose from. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest challenges for those in midlife is, and this is especially true for women, is that most of us are living our busy daily lives and we rarely get seen, S-E-E-N. And I don't mean seen as in, see our soul kind of thing. I mean, physically be seen by single eligible people. Mm-hmm. You know, if you think back to 50 years ago, if you were a 45, 50-year-old person, particularly women, there's that joke in the movie Sleepless Seattle saying you have an easier time getting hit by lightning than meeting somebody. Yes. But now we have a tool to meet people you wouldn't have otherwise be able to meet, and that's internet connections. Now, for those listening, when I mean internet connections, I mean mobile applications, I mean dating sites, and I do mean Facebook. Facebook is a great way to meet new people and make new friends. So we now have more portals. Because of that, it's not a death sentence to be 50 and single anymore. We have opportunities. Now, here's the curse with that. With more opportunities, we have more of dysfunctional people out there also wanting to connect. And this is where you feel like you're bumping your head. And I want to say something. I don't believe human beings were designed to have continual dating, relationship. I don't think we were physically designed for that. And so it takes a certain mental fortitude to be able to go, hey, I've had 20 dates, none of them turn out. And, instead of getting depressed, you have to still be up for the process. And the minute you go down that woe is me trail, that's the kiss of death. Mm-hmm. So it does take, I love what my friend Allison Armstrong calls it, a victory of human spirit. And I just call it willpower, to just step up and go, you know what? I know I want to be in a healthy, happy partnership with someone. So I'm going to continually put effort until that happens.
I love that. I love Allison's work as well. I've gone to a couple of her workshops and seminars long ago. I need to revisit that because she has such wonderful words of wisdom. And speaking of words of wisdom, I want to, before we have to get off, because I know we have limited time here today. Okay. I'll talk to you forever. In your book, we talked the other day about those 4 elements, the emotional maturity. Let's go through those for our listeners and talk about those. And I'm so excited to hear more about that.
Okay. So for those listening, what I shared with Tess was I'm a big proponent of what I call partnership. So for those listening, whether it's marriage, living together, or whatever partnership looks like for you, that's what I help clients achieve is partnership with someone. And there's basically, I want you to think of partnership like a table, and there are 4 legs to it. The first leg, which is the most common, is attraction or chemistry. Without attraction or chemistry, most people aren't going to invest in the process of dating. So, we need a bit of chemistry. We need a bit of attraction for that to work. So that's the first leg. For a successful partnership, there's 3 other legs. One of them is shared values. Do you basically share the same values in life? And, most people associate values with honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness. To me, those are given. That's the baseline. But each person might have a different value. And, there's a great illustration of this the difference between, our politics, for example. Clearly when someone is so strong on one side of the aisle or so strong on the other side, that is a reflection of their values. So shared values is the next leg of partnership. The leg after that, and there's no order here I'm putting, but the one I'm sharing is what I call blending lives. The challenge with most people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s is that they have a set life. Okay. Mm-hmm. Their life is kind of set. And I know a lot of the women listening oftentimes pretzel themselves in a man's life or believe that they can turn their life around to fit into someone else's life. And I'm not a proponent of that. I'm a proponent of finding somebody whose life can blend in yours and you can blend into theirs. And just blending, I mean, is compatible. So for those that are, actively doing long distance relationships and they're finding, one after another doesn't work out, it's because you couldn't blend your lives. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth leg is what I call emotional grown-up. Are you with an emotional grown-up? Meaning, does this person take responsibility for their choices? Do their actions match their word? Are they a grown-up? And you can be 55 years old and not a grown-up, whether you're a man or a woman. Okay, men oftentimes get the brunt of the jokes here, not being grown up. But I will tell you that women are equally as bad at being a grown-up.
Yes,
so
I've seen that on both sides as well.
A successful partnership is being with an emotional grown-up. Can you blend lives? Do you share the same values? And do you want to jump each other's bones? For the most part.
That's a great, very easy 4 points to make sure that you do that checklist, because under each one of those 4 points, there's a myriad of directions you can go with the political and the religious and the values. And also blending lives could also include the children that you've had in previous relationships, if they're still young and they haven't been out of the house or all that kind of stuff. And one of the other things in the emotional maturity is about the emotional baggage. I talk about that a lot. Do you have a carry-on bag or do you have a semi-truck filled with boxes?
Yep.
Have we gotten through? Have we forgiven our past? Have we moved through the triggers that allow for us to be able to bring in that right partner? And I also, for those of you that are out there with a successful relationship, there's always things to work on. So these 4 points are really important for people who are in a relationship. How do you reignite that chemistry? How do you reformulate your shared values? Because maybe your political or religious or spiritual themes might have changed over the years. And how do you blend your lives once the children leave the house? And how have you grown up together in your emotional maturity? So there's so many different things that these things go across the board. I know we only have a few seconds left here with you, Jonathon. We're going to have to do this one again and again, and maybe just go back to that whole conversation that we had with Sherry and you and I back in the day when we were going to do a show. Because I think people would be really interested in this content. So why don't you tell our listeners where to find you?
Okay.
Any last words of advice?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks again so much, Tess. This has been a true pleasure, and I think you're fantastic. So I'm sending you a big, gigantic virtual hug right now.
Yay, we got to meet in person one of these days.
Yes, I love it. Well, for those listening, my name is Jonathon Aslay. You can Google me by going Jonathon, and that's A as in Apple, S as in Sam, Lay. You can find me. You can check out I got tons and tons of free content out there. I also have a very popular group called Midlife Love Mastery, and for just $10 a month, you can get so much content in a private Facebook group and interact with me. My best advice, and I know this is going to sound like a meme. It is a meme, and it's just real simple. Love yourself, be yourself, and never compromise yourself. It's a little rule that I live by for myself personally, and I put it out there. Love yourself, be yourself, and never compromise yourself.
Love yourself, be yourself, and never compromise. Those are wonderful, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Thank you for your time, Jonathon. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and we're going to make that time to meet in person because we're in the same city, for gosh sakes. Los Angeles is so spread out, it's like its own country. But thank you again. We're going to get back to the show. This is a beautiful pre-record that Jonathon took out of his busy schedule to do because it was so important to talk about relationships and love during the holidays and all around the year. So we'll be right back after this.
GWEN Talks Radio is a division of GWEN.Live. an entertainment platform for accelerating social good. Featuring films, series, books, music, and radio from around the world to bridge cultures and connect us all. We want to hear from you, create with you, activate with you, and work together in unison for a better world. Join the GWEN movement. Go to GWEN.live today.
So welcome back. You're at GWEN Talks Radio. I'm your host, Tess Cacciatore, and we have the guest, beautiful host, Betsy Chasse, and Wendy Yost is as not a host, but a guest. I was thinking of the rhyming there. I love your name, by the way. So, ladies, we just listened to A Man's Point of View, and one of the things that kind of stuck out for me that I'd like to talk to you ladies about is the 4 pillars that he talks about: the chemistry, the shared values, the blending lives, and the emotional maturity. What do you relate to that? Which one's, they're all very important, but which one kind of jumps out? Where would you like to talk about in that regard?
Well, I think in terms of what happens with radical dating is, all of those things are of value, of course, in radical dating. The most important piece about all of those things, we could pick one and they're all very important, is for you as a individual to really understand what those things mean to you. And that's what's important. And I think one of the things that, I went out when I started to research the show to decide, well, whose program would I use? And there's a lot of really great programs out there. What I appreciated about David's program was that it requires the person doing the program, to do the work for themselves and to get clarity on who they are without judgment, and to say, look, if this is who you are, it's okay. You have to be clear about that so that before you choose a partner, you don't start choosing people that don't match up with that. And so everybody's values are different. Everybody's definition. We have a whole episode on chemistry, as a matter of fact. Chemistry can mean different things to different people. And what really is chemistry, and how do we use that? Because there's a big difference, for instance, in I have great chemistry with some guy that I just met at a bar, but that's chemical chemistry versus, do I have the kind of chemistry that's going to sustain a long-term relationship? To really understand what those words mean, and then what do they mean to you, the individual, and how are they going to play into creating that relationship that you want?
Absolutely. One of the things on the episode 1 that related to me, to Wendy, is about our animals and all of that. And that kind of comes under the category of blending lives. And I loved when she was talking about her cat. And I know that there was some things that changed in your life, Wendy. Do you want to share that experience? Because I thought it was really powerful when we were talking the other day about that situation.
Well, it was interesting over the course of, so we filmed for 3 months, and each time we filmed at my house, we could not get a scene without my cat Christopher deciding to make a cameo appearance. And so eventually Betsy just decided, we're going to do a little montage and get him playing and give him his spotlight moment.
I love that.
So that hopefully, and even my house, you would see behind me, this giant kitty condo, and they'd pan on my stack of kitty behavior books. And I told them, I was jokingly saying, I'm going to, create hashtag just one cat, because I didn't want to be portrayed as a cat lady. Because I just had one cat that I was deeply in love with. And unfortunately, or just as life goes, he died in April, and he was only 6 years old. And it was fascinating to me how much I had been relying on him for masculine energy in the house. So I joke that it was he has 12 pounds of masculine energy, and that was kind of my placeholder. And that now I'm inviting 185, 190, 200, 210, whatever, pounds of masculine energy in the house, because I think in a lot of ways he helped me get comfortable again with the idea of having masculine energy around me. Certainly the level of companionship, the level of greetings and comings and goings, having a place for my love to flow, that kind of just shared companionship. All those things were things that I placed upon the companionship that I had with my pet. And even though he was a very special cat, and anybody that would meet him would be like, that is a very special cat. His absence now feels like it was a space clearing for me to have the romantic partner. Because I remember at one point, Betsy and I were talking about like, how's it going to work? And I mean, I had been thinking like, what's it going to be like? Cause Christopher sleeps on a pillow. Like Christopher has his side of the bed. I have my side of the bed. Like I want a man in my bed. And so, how's this going to work? And is Christopher going to stage a revolt? And so it was beautiful and sad when he departed, because it just felt like, what is getting completed here?
That's a beautiful gift. Wow.
Yeah. Well, so flash forward to now we have the holidays coming, and it is, for me, being single during the holidays is not, I don't view that as a problem. I'm single. Like I'm aware of this. And
I don't have a problem with it either. It gives you a lot of flexibility and freedom.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. However, I know that for me, and then I have several girlfriends who also have been single over the course of the last year, who also lost pets this year. I think that there's a compounding effect of, when you come home at the end of the night, especially during the holidays, especially when it's dark earlier, there's just some different dynamics that I think we're each going to have to find new ways to get needs met that might look different than what they did in the past when we would come home and have, a dog or a cat or whatever the animal was that was the source of companionship in a single woman's life. And, so to me, it's worth looking at. So what do I need? Do I want to spend the night at my parents' house on Christmas Eve? That might be one way to do it. Do I want to tell my friends like, hey, invite me? I don't need to be set up unless you really think that somebody would be a great match. I don't need to just fill time.
Yes.
But if there's something that you think I would enjoy doing, then, please invite me, and I'll be honest about whether or not it feels like a fit. And I think, the compound nature of things is something I'm seeing in my classroom too, just with the state of our nation and the state of our world. I have students that are coming to me repeatedly over, it's not the one thing that's in front of them, it's how the one thing in front of them has created a cascade effect with all the things that are on their radar already.
That leads me to a very important part that I want you to just jump into, because Jonathon's point of view is the midlife from 42 to 69, and this show runs the gamut of age group. What are you finding in your students, which is probably around that millennial age group, with regard to dating and relationship and fulfillment? Do you finding a difference there?
I do. Well, I find that there is a different. I think millennials get such a bad rap. What I see in my classrooms, and part of it is how I design my classrooms, but what I see is the nature of respect, and feeling like they have a big purpose to fulfill that might not look like it's a traditional graduate, get married, work, make babies. Like the level of desire around having a purposeful path forward is really beautiful. And what I see between the dynamics of the men and the women, I actually have a unique opportunity in that I get to teach based on a curriculum that I learned over 10 years that helps, people understand hardwiring differences between the masculine and feminine. And so I get to see the vulnerability of both the male students, the female students, and the students who don't identify as male or female. And so I'm looking at a lot of different things in my classroom that are giving me tremendous hope for what the future looks like based on these people becoming the future leaders of our nation and our world. And that's something I'm really excited about.
Well, and I'll just wrap it up with one thing about radical dating, which is that I loved about it is that, I have two little kids. They're 13 and 10. And, after I got divorced, I knew a lot of divorced women who were rushing out to get married again. And one of the big takeaways that I learned from working with David and working with Wendy is that it's okay to redefine. I mean, for people over 40, we had this paradigm built in which we were supposed to be married, supposed to be having kids, supposed to have the white picket fence, supposed to have the retirement fund so that when we're in our 40s, we're traveling and doing all those things. And then divorce happens, life happens, we don't get married, or we do get married and we get divorced. That there's this freedom that I actually am learning from younger people, that I don't have to live the story. The rules that I was brought up with don't have to apply. And that really created freedom for me to create the relationship that I want and that is fulfilling me versus have a relationship because that's what I'm supposed to do.
I love that. Well, we have come to the time limit. I think we're probably over the time limit, but I could talk about this forever. I love the topics that we get to do with the intimate conversations to reveal and heal. And I certainly invite the audience to check back in with you all. Radical Dating can be found where, Betsy, and give them your website as well.
Sure. Radical Dating can be found at radical-dating.com. Or go onto Facebook. You can find me, you can find Wendy, you can find Radical Dating. It's all, you'll find how to find the episodes there. You can go to YouTube and just search Radical Dating and you'll find it right there. Beautiful. And Wendy, let's hear your website, which I love the name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, my website is moreisavailable.com, and that has a listing of the different books that several of which I co-authored with Betsy. Mm-hmm. It's got a listing of the Moon Circle gatherings I lead in Los Angeles every full moon and new moon. And it's got links to various writings that I've done for a number of different online platforms. So, I love it. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to meet you in person. We're kindred sisters of another. I know. I think we were both at Brian's birthday party, but I think that was we were at different times of night. Oh, darn. Well, we'll have to get together, all the girls here soon. And I also want Jonathon Aslay, and you can find him at JONATHONASLAY.com. And all of these websites and charity spotlights and music inspiration and all kinds of links will be on our website at GWEN.live under the radio section. You'll be able to tap into anybody you want to talk to, and we want to continue the dialogue. We're going to take a break into our music inspiration and end up with Mind Over Matter Minute, and we'll be right back.
You, if you let me, you can crush me, 'cause you're getting me. Before I breathe a word, boy, you break my heart. There is no one, baby, can't find no one like you. There is no one, baby, got me act a fool. And there is no one who moves me like you do. There is no one who moves me like you do. There is no one like you. I'll do without you if I have to, but you're the soundtrack, baby, that I laugh to before you hold my hand and the scene gets blurred. You hurt me. There is no one, baby, can't find no one like you. There is no one, baby, got me act a fool. And there is no one like you. There is no one who moves me like you do. There is no one like you, no. And this could go so beautifully, so wonderfully well. true. I'm hoping that you'll stay. I would love you if you let me. You can crush me, 'cause you get me. Before I breathe a word, there is no one who moves me like you do. There is no one like you. Before I breathe a word, boy, you break my heart. Before I breathe a word, I know I said too much, thinking I'll be fine, yeah. But girl, you know you're not gonna get away this time. Not with how you got me. There is no one who moves me like you do. There is no one like you. There is no one who moves me like you do. There is no one like you.
And now, a Mind Over Matter Minute.
And inhale. And exhale. I am love. I am love. I am love. Remembering our true commitment to ourselves, remembering the true love for ourselves, remembering the divine purpose on why we are here to spread the love. I am love. I am love. Thank you so much for listening to our show. I told you at the beginning of the hour that I was going to share the story of Magnolia, Memoir, and Memoir, and the connection to this song. And I was at the Billion Women March downtown City Hall, Los Angeles, and I saw this group perform right before I was getting up to speak. And this song brought tears to my eyes. And I realized it was a relationship song, and obviously Mela had written it about someone that was in her life, but the images that I had were about no one like you. And I saw these images of women looking in the mirror at themselves, deeply within themselves. If you haven't had that mirror exercise yet, I encourage you to do so. I want to send you to GWEN.live and look up the Finding Gwen video. We have 17 women that came from all walks of life, from ages 12 all the way up. And we had the mirror exercise because I really wanted them to experience that there is no one like you, no one like me. Each of us are individual, here to bring our love for ourselves to the planet so we can heal. So I invite you to go to GWEN.live. Our charity spotlight for the day is weareone.org, which is in line with the We Are One song campaign, directed, orchestrated, performed, and sung by David Longoria. You'll have a whole wonderful story behind that whole campaign and song that's coming out. And I just wanted to leave you with this, that love yourself, and therefore you can go about and love others as well. We'll see you next time, and have a beautiful, blessed day. And remember, the world is much better with you in it.
Thank you for listening. Visit us at GWEN.live and join our GWEN community. Share what's on your mind.